It's 2021. What's going to happen in our local housing market? Stay tuned for this week's segment of Market Watch to find out. Happy New Year, everyone. It's Joshua Barks here with Keller Williams Realty Boise and the Barks & Co. Real Estate team. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Market Watch. I have a big one for you. I'm so grateful to be done with 2020, to put that year behind us and move forward into 2021. And with this segment, we're going to talk about the monthly market dynamics for what happened in December of 2020, with the major focus being on 2020 as a whole, what happened the whole year, and then our predictions for 2021. Now, I know that this video is going to be too long for my many people out there that don't want to bother with the nitty-gritty details. So I do want to jump in and give you a couple of highlights really quick before we dive into the presentation. Number one, Ada County saw an increase in the average sales price by nearly 18% in 2020. We have a new average sales price of just over $427,000, and demand is staying pretty consistent. The number of sales in Ada County, even though inventory is at an all-time historic low, the amount of sales increased in 2020 from 2019, and we will likely continue to see an increase in sales into 2021. Now, with predictions in 2021, we are going to see prices continue to increase. They just won't be at the pace that we saw in 2020. Inventory will finally start to come up as soon as vaccines become more widely available and the weather starts to warm up. And interest rates, which are at historic lows right now, are projected to increase by the end of the year. So we'll likely see those start to tick up. Though, because we have such high demand coming from other areas, we are still likely going to see an increase of at least 5% by the end of May, with an overall net average in the sold price by 10% at the end of the year, which is ironically about what I predicted this same time last year, but because of the pandemic, we in fact saw prices appreciate even higher. So if you are a buyer, the market is very competitive. Make sure you have somebody on your side. We would be honored to help take care of that for you and reach your real estate goals. If you are a seller, it's a great time to sell. In fact, it's never been a better time to sell. I know I've said that a lot over the last several months, but the market keeps getting better and better for sellers. The important part with selling is having an agent that knows how to navigate multiple offers so that you as a seller get the highest net possible. You need to have your marketing on point and make sure that your home can outshine the competition, because you'll end up with even more offers. In fact, just this last year, we've had many sellers that have followed this strategy that have been able to sell their homes successfully at higher prices than the highest comp, because we are getting that many offers on point, with interest levels pushing that price point higher than where we think it is reasonable to appraise, which is incredible for sellers. So on the buyer side, make sure you have an agent that knows how to win and beat the competition, knows how to structure your offers. Make sure you get your ducks in a row. On the seller side, make sure you have an agent that knows how to handle and navigate the market as prices are appreciating. It's very important, even with a market being so good, that you don't start with your prices too high, because if you do, no one's going to be interested and you will end up selling for less than what you were going to get initially, because of the way multiple offers work. Now, let's dive into those market dynamics. I'm actually going to cover both Ada County and Canyon County, because a few of you reached out to me and said you wanted to see Canyon County numbers as well. So let's dive right into that. Here we finally have the wrap up on what happened in 2020, so we can go over the December 2020 market dynamics on the existing housing market in our area. Now, I actually had a few people reach out to me to ask if I could also cover Canyon County's numbers. So in this video, I am going to touch on that as well. We're going to start with the market trends and average sold price, and I have them split by county so that you can see that. We'll start with Ada County, then go to Canyon County, and then I have the overview of the market dynamics for each, so we can go into greater detail there. So first, with the market trends, we have a month-over-month scale showing from December of 2019 all the way to December of 2020 on what's happened. The red line being the number of active listings, so the number of available listings on the market. The black bars being the number of closed sales in that month, and the gray bars being the number of pending sales in that month. So where we're at right now, we hit another historic all-time low in inventory, which if you've been following me week over week, we've kind of been seeing that decline pretty steadily every week. And with 85 active listings in all of Ada County, so that includes Meridian, Boise, of course, Garden City, Eagle, Star, and Kuna. Out of all 6 of those cities, there are less than 100 active listings on the market. That's absolutely incredible, especially because with the number of closed sales that we're seeing right now, 596 sold in December of this year, of last year in 2020, and 552 sold in December of 2019. So we actually, and that's kind of been the case every month, we've actually seen more sales this year or in 2020 every month than what we saw in 2019, even though our inventory has been even less than what we typically see, down to a new historic all-time low. Now, with having more sales and super low inventory and extremely high demand, what's that going to do to prices? Well, it pushes them up. Our new average sales price for Ada County is $427,000 with change. So $427 and $452. That is incredible. Almost 18% since January 1. So we ended 2019 with $362,000 as the average sales price, and we ended 2020 with $427,000 in the average sales price. Now, we saw an increase like that a couple years ago in 2018 with a 16.9% increase in the sales price. And then the last time wasn't until 2013. So with our 17.6% increase. Now, the bottom of our market was 2011 after the housing market began to crash in 2008. And then we bottomed out in 2011, and we've been increasing steadily every year since. Now, this 18%, no one was predicting that we would grow by an average sales price of 18% this year. In fact, my prediction this time last year was that we were going to see another number very close to this 11.5. And we were shocked by having our global pandemic, but with the increase in technology, and people being able to work from home, we actually saw higher demand this year than what we typically do for our area, because we had more people moving here than what we typically do. And with that really pushed up prices and made things very competitive. Now, with the entry-level price points, with that average sales price increasing to $427,000, that actually is pushing some people to Canyon County further out west, because the average sales price in Canyon County is still below $300,000, barely below at $298,000, but still below. Now, they increased 20.5% in the average sales price this year, and their trends pretty much followed what you can see in Ada County. So with 230 homes in December of 2019 being on the market, then they dropped in February and then peaked again in March, and then was steadily dropping all the way till now, where they have less than 100 also homes available in all of Canyon County. And with that, what we're seeing is typically in Canyon County, we have anywhere from 200 to 400 active listings at any one point in time. And then in Ada County, as you know, based on previous videos, we have about 1,000 active listings, anywhere from that 500 number to 1,500, but we usually average about 1,000 in our highest levels. So with that, we can get into the bulk of the market dynamics, and looking at Ada County across all price points, we have an average days on market of 18 days, and we had over 8,500 sales in 2020. So with that, that's actually significantly higher than what we had in 2019. And the part that I want to talk about the most is based on price points, 250,000 up to 500,000. That is where the bulk of our sales are in Ada County. And what we saw in 2019 was this 401 from 200 to 250,000 was actually one of these closer to 1,500 numbers. So with prices appreciating, we are losing that entry-level market, which is pushing people to Canyon County. Now, what's interesting to look at with the inventory levels as well is that it's a strong seller's market across all price points right now because inventory is just so low. And what economists say is anything less than 4 months supply is considered a seller's market. Anything between 4 and 6 months is considered to be a balanced market. And then anything beyond 6 months is considered to be a buyer's market. So we are still strongly favoring sellers in this market. The average asking price right now in Ada County is $660,000, while the average pending is showing at $509,000, $550,000. And then the average sold being the 427. So what I like to look at with this is what sellers are hoping for. This is kind of what people are actually getting, or at least this is the price point that things are still going pending at. And then here's what people are actually getting. So we are still seeing an upward momentum to kind of bridge the gap. I do anticipate that number to continue to increase, just not at the pace that what we've been seeing. I'll get into my predictions a little bit later, so that'll show up here shortly. With Canyon County, we have just slightly less than what Ada County's average days on market at 17 days. The number of sales being just over 3,700. It's actually not significantly higher than what we saw in 2019 for Canyon County. And the bulk of Canyon County sales are between 200 and 300,000, which again is why, as you can see, the $200,000 to $300,000 market is drying up a little bit in Ada County, and so people are moving to further out into Canyon County. So that's why you can see those numbers increase as well. Overall, average asking price in Canyon County being $431,000, which is just slightly above the average sold price in Ada County, with the average pending being around $300,000, and then actually selling at that $298 number. Now, when we're looking at interest rates, this is one of the biggest factors in our demand right now. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage, according to Freddie Mac, actually hit a new all-time historic low this week at 2.65%. And we actually saw interest rates decrease by an entire percentage point this year, which no one was expecting. They were expecting interest rates to kind of hover around 3 and then begin increasing. Then when we have what's going on with the mortgage rates on the going into the future in 2021, what we're seeing is rates are likely going to start to increase as the economy begins to recover and things like that start to move forward. So if you're thinking about refinancing or buying a home right now, interest rates will likely not continue on this trend to go lower. They'll start to increase, but probably not by a whole lot. With the interest rates being really low, and then with people being able to work from home, we've seen demand take an extreme pace, especially people moving out of higher priced, denser areas and into our more affordable areas. Then when we're going to look into what's happening in 2021, this is really the meat of what I want to get into in this video. We covered that demand was extremely high while inventory was extremely low. in both Ada County and Canyon County throughout 2020. Now, in 2021, here's what we're going to expect. As I've been saying for a few weeks now, inventory will likely start to finally rise. And we weren't going to see inventory rise until after the holidays because that's normal. Now, we've actually seen inventory start to rise a little bit this week, but as the vaccine becomes more widely available and guidelines for social distancing begin to loosen, we're going to see inventory rise. Hopefully back to what our quote unquote normal numbers will look like with inventory so that buyers can start to have a little bit more options out there. Interest rates. As I just mentioned, interest rates are projected to start to rise as well. Not by much, and they'll likely still be below 4% by the end of this year. In fact, they'll probably be below 3.5% because they don't want to raise anything significantly, because with affordability, what we saw in our area with affordability is at the beginning of 2020, affordability was actually greater in our area than it was in the 80s, even though prices are higher than where they were because of interest rates. Now, with interest rates starting to come up and with prices appreciating as rapidly as they appreciated in 2020, we will start to see affordability in Ada County decline as people move out to Canyon County and further away. In-migration from other states in 2020 will continue to prop demand throughout the Treasure Valley and other affordable cities around the nation. Now, what I mean by that is people are moving from high value areas as they can start to work from home. So they're moving from, we'll use the C word, we'll say they're moving from California and they're moving here and using their California salary because they're still getting paid because they now can work from home. They only have to visit California every once in a while for work. So they're going to move to somewhere that has the quality of life that they're looking for, a little bit slower pace, and where they can have everything they want in a home and a great place to raise kids and things like that. So we're seeing that not only here, but across the nation. The kind of what's called second tier cities are getting kind of a boom in residential influx as people can keep their jobs in those high paying areas and live in a lower cost of living. So with that, prices will continue to rise. They just won't be at the same levels as 2020 because inventory will hopefully start to come up, or actually will come up, and demand being come up. I anticipate our prices to increase by about 10% at the end of next year, net gain. We might see a higher increase in that and then maybe a slight drop in that month over month because I anticipate us ending 2021 with about a 10% increase. And then a 5% increase, as I've been saying for a few months now, with the way numbers are looking in Ada County, we are going to see at least 5% increase by the end of May. So the beginning of summer in Ada County in the average sales price. So with $427,000 now, we are likely going to see an additional 5% on top of that by the end of May. So when it comes to buyers, our local market is going to remain very competitive, especially on that entry level. So make sure, if you are a buyer in this market, or your goal for 2021 is to buy a home, make sure that you have your ducks in a row with your financing, and that you know what you're looking for, you know what you want, and make sure absolutely to hire an agent that knows how to win in multiple offer situations. Because even with an agent that knows how to structure your offer, knows how to negotiate with the other agent, knows what sellers are looking for in this market, you're still going to miss out on probably your first 5 to 10 homes. And if you don't have an agent that knows what they're doing, doesn't know how to structure things, doesn't have relationships with those listing agents that have the listings, you're just going to end up missing out and missing out and missing out. And every house you miss out, every month that you continue to look, you're going to be looking at higher and higher priced homes, especially because we're seeing prices increase. So if you were looking at a house in early 2020 and you were like, okay, I'm going to buy. Well, the average sales price was $362,000. If you lost out month over month over month and you're still looking in 2021, well, now the average sales price is $427,000. That's $50,000 higher. So you're paying $50,000 more on average for the same home because you couldn't get out of the 100 houses that are available. So it's extremely crucial to know that you're going to have your financing in a row, know what you're looking for, and then hire an agent that knows how to win in those multiple offer situations. Now, on the flip side, if you're a seller, sellers are going to continue to experience a very strong selling market. Often with most homes selling over asking with multiple offers. The caveat to that is they must be priced and marketed correctly in order for that to happen. Yes, right now you can do, quote unquote, do nothing, put your house on the market, stick a sign in the yard, and someone will probably buy it. With only 100 houses available in Ada County, options really aren't there. So someone's going to go, okay, I need that. It's in an area that I want or whatever. They'll take it. They'll do the repairs themselves. You don't have to worry about it. The problem with that, depending on your specific situation, the problem with that is you're going to be losing money if you don't do anything, because with the market being as amazing as it is, if your house is one of the few that can outshine everybody else's, you are going to have significantly more buyers. And we personally have even had extreme success with sellers this last year that have sold their home for higher than the highest comps just because they priced it correctly to begin with, and then they knew what to do in order to get it ready to go on the market, and it was marketed really well. So make sure you have an agent that knows how to make your home stand out, and then especially understands how to navigate multiple offer negotiations, because there's nothing worse than putting a house on the market and accepting an offer that day within several hours, because you are losing out on the people that were going to see it and really exposing it to the market as a whole. So it's really important to have everything set up to where everyone knows what's going on going into it. Now, if you're trying to figure out when the best time to buy or sell is, it always comes down to these two questions. Do you have a good enough reason to move right now, and can you afford it? Because if you don't have a good enough reason and you can't afford it, well, then it's not a good time for you to buy or sell. Now, when it comes to people that are worried about buying at the quote unquote top of the market, what I have to say for you is there's never a bad time to buy. There's only a potentially bad time to sell, because as long as you're not trying to sell your house, you can buy at any price, because over long-term prices have shown us that they continue to appreciate. So if you're not planning on selling for a year or two, you're probably going to be okay on the sell side, because that's what hurts us from 2008 to now, what we saw then. Prices were on their way down in 2008, and so people that wanted to sell were losing money because they bought at a higher price. Now, if you didn't need to sell and you actually wrote it out, you're in a better situation now than what you were in 2008. And that has been the experience for many people. So if you've answered yes, do you have a good enough reason to move? Especially this year is really lucrative for people that are trading up, so upsizing, selling their entry-level house, because that's what people need and want right now, and buying that bigger home. If you answered yes, just talk to your real estate professional. We'd love to be interviewed as well. And of course, send in your questions. Let us know what you want us to talk about in future videos. Here's my number. Feel free to give me a call. You can always email me, and of course, check out my website. Thank you so much for staying tuned for all of the craziness while we cover what happened in 2020 and what our predictions are for this year. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, just give us a call. Okay, so that's a wrap on what happened in 2020. And what we're going to see in 2021, inventory finally will start to rise. Demand is going to stay pretty consistent across all price points. And when it comes to buying, selling, investing, it is super important, especially in a market like this, to have an agent that knows what they're doing. Feel free to give me a call. My number is 208-914-1095. I love getting your feedback and questions, so send those in, and we will see you next week for our weekly updates. See you then.